Well, it's nice to be out on the canal. It's what day is it? Thursday afternoon. I was working this morning up in Dudley, so I thought I would try this little stretch down to Gosty Tunnel. So this is actually on the Dudley Canal number 2, and as you'll see as we paddle, it's not really that well used, and I think it's about a 5-mile stretch. So yeah, it's not a massive canal, but we'll have a little tootle up to the tunnel and hopefully go through it. So Gosty Tunnel is around 500 meters, so it's a reasonable distance, but I have a torch, so yeah, when we get there we'll have a little look and see if we can do it. So let's get cracking. So for this trip I am paddling the rock hopper. This is probably the perfect boat for this, but it's also because I'm doing a second paddle tomorrow that is a little bit more distance, so the rock hopper is needed, and I won't be going home tonight, so I'm staying away in the van. So yeah, the rock hopper all the way. So we're actually in quite a built up area of Dudley here, and the Black Country Museum is not far away, and you can see some of the industry on the left hand bank. That's actually an industrial estate, that's where I've parked the car. So I'll also put in the description the what 3 words for the put in, and yeah, it is so nice to be out on the water, I have to say. Certainly doesn't look like there's been much down here recently, because all this green on the top, kind of algae or moss, I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of it, and even more of it ahead. So according to the Canal and River Trust on their website, there's a PDF document which I'll link to in the description, but Gosty Tunnel is one of the tunnels they permit unpowered craft through. with the proviso that you carry a torch and that you obviously check that there are no craft coming through either way. So here is the tunnel. Wasn't too far from the car actually, so that's probably taken 10 minutes to paddle up. So that was a good find on Google Maps to find that put in, and then we haven't had to travel too far up the canal. This green is now getting thicker and thicker, so we'll see if the Canal and River Trust website actually matches what the sign says down here. Look, so there's some sort of building work, iron work and building there. Maybe that was for unloading the canal boats when they came through the tunnel, don't know. Let's have a little look. Whoa, that does look a long way through. Let's see if it tells us the exact distance. So interesting, this is now contrary, so it's got a picture of what looks like a kayak with a cross through it. So that is different to what is on their website. So you can see the length, 509 meters. Average time to travel, 10 minutes. Sound horn, well, can't do that. That's about the best I can do. And it does show a light. So, and obviously buoyancy aid on the picture just there. So, yeah, I think we will have a look. And first of all is determined if there's any craft coming through. Well, I think for sure there's no craft coming through, and I need to get my torch ready. Oh, ow. So it's clearly only one boat wide, one narrow boat wide. I have my torch, which is actually not too bad. So I clocked the time, so we'll just see if it takes us 10 minutes to paddle through. It's quite high, but just not very wide. Hello! So there might be a halfway marker, sometimes there is, which we'll have a look. That was something just dripped onto the back of the kayak, made a bit of a noise. It is very eerie, I have to say. So, it also smells quite bad of, I'm assuming, fumes from fuel that maybe have leaked into the water. Having said that, this canal is used so little, according to what I've read, that possibly there aren't any boats been through here for a while, or haven't been any boats. So, is that the halfway? 200 meters. What? We've only done 200 meters? Holy moly. That's a lot further than it looks then. So you can see the far end, the entrance, or whichever entrance exit, is sort of getting bigger as though we are arriving, but the markings on the side pointed back to where I'd come and said 200 meters. So, So the green has gone a little bit now, all the green in the water, that has gone. Still can't see any craft, can't hear any craft behind me. So obviously also always doing those safety checks. My torch is holding up, so that's good. It's not waterproof, so I've got to be careful I don't drop it. That would be perilous. And oh, what is this? That looks like light coming down from the top. Whoa, what is this? I was not expecting this. Wow, so what is that? If I try and look up, probably going to get dripped on. Oh my world. You are joking me. What is that? So this air shaft, yes, it is to ventilate the tunnel from any fumes from obviously the modern diesel engines of the barges, but also I found out when talking to a local who's walking past the tunnel, but also for gases that might seep out from the porous rock, so natural gases that could be hazardous if they built up in the tunnel. So this air shaft is a way of ventilating the tunnel. Tunnels like Harecastle, which is a long tunnel, that's up by Stoke, that's a long tunnel, and that actually has an air shaft in it that they use fans to blow air into the tunnel. But with all of the fumes, obviously that would remove the oxygen in there and people would go unconscious. So perhaps it's a similar thing with that, just allowing some air to come in, some ventilation, and I thought that was another one there, but that's just a smaller. So the tunnel, oh I see, the tunnel has got smaller. So it is now, the roof is a lot lower than it was when we started. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice that. So here we go to the end, 500 meters, 509 meters to be exact, and we're coming out. Whoa. So I've just switched the torch off just to save battery, and there we are, all the way through. Yeah, that was cool. I enjoyed that. Time in exactly 10 minutes. Yeah, okay, so Canal and River Trust were correct on that. 10 minutes. So pretty on the canal with all the leaves now turning sort of brown, falling onto the floor because it's, well, we're end of the autumn, early part of going into the winter really, so we're 3rd of October. So yeah, I do like this time of year. Obviously it's colder, so I have got my dry suit on, but I've only got a single layer underneath it. So that just gives me the opportunity to do some paddling and not actually overheat in the dry suit. But I have to say, very impressed with it. I've worn it on several trips now and it is so quick to get ready. and get back in the car, get undressed when you get back. You don't have to get changed, which is an absolute revelation. So when it is cold, you're literally 10 minutes and your dry suit is off. You can put a coat on and then you can take time to put your kayak back on the car, etc. And yeah, that does make things a lot easier, and it makes trips like this easier, because as I mentioned, I've been working this morning, so didn't really have time to kit up and do all of the things. So just chuck the dry suit in, and I've got my fleece trousers on and a single layer top, and I'm ready to go. So 20 minutes, probably even 15 minutes from when I turned up, I was actually on the water. So yeah, I do like that aspect of it. So a few minutes ago I was talking to a local who was walking along the towpath, and he actually owns the fishing rights along this particular bit of the Dudley Canal, right from the basin just up the canal down to the tunnel which I've just been in. And yeah, he's owned them for years, so it was interesting to catch up with him. He was telling me a little bit about the history, about Stewarts and Lloyds, who had a factory here and they were making steel pipes, and that shut down around 1967 according to the sign. So it's still industrial units either side, but not Stewarts and Lloyd. So also he mentioned about the 6 bridges. So between the place where I parked the car and the tunnel, there were 6 bridges, brick bridges across, and that includes the one that was blown up by the Home Guard for defence reasons. So it's nice to get that history, especially from somebody local who's been coming down here 45 years and running the fishing along the banks. He runs the competitions, and his members pay £17 a year for a fishing licence to fish on this particular part of the canal. They can only fish on the towpath side. They can't fish on the other side because that is a public footpath. So yeah, really interesting to sort of catch up with that, and I hope that sort of history is taken forward and people remember that, because it's nice to pass that on to future generations, the development of the canal in this local area. So we're coming up to this little bridge. I did read a little bit about this, that the original bridge was a stone bridge, and that was actually destroyed by the Home Guard during World War II, because they felt that this could be a place where the enemy might get across the canal. So they destroyed the bridge, and then this bridge, this metal bridge, was then put up fairly recently, I think, probably in the last 30 years, 40 years. And I'm just waiting until I get closer to the sign so I can read it. Coombes Bridge. Looks a nice little bridge, that. Nice footbridge, and there's a towpath obviously on the side of the canal, and then there is a path that goes up to my left. So quite an important sort of link through, and I can't read on that sign where it goes, but it goes somewhere. People to walk their dogs and stuff. And I can see Bippy down there. So we are back where we started. So I'm just leaning over a tiny bit to try and get the green bits off the kayak, which seem to work. So sometimes, once I get to this position with the kayak, I can grab it and lift it, but this is such a heavy kayak that I find it easier just to run it back a tiny bit without falling in, hopefully grabbing the end and then actually just seesawing it up onto the side. So I just bring it round, lift it up, and then pull it a tiny bit and it's on the side. Yeah, really like that paddle. Just a gentle paddle down to the tunnel, through the tunnel and back. Yeah, nice. Didn't realise how narrow the tunnel was going to be, and obviously couldn't turn around in the rock hopper, 3.5 meters that is, and also didn't realise there was a ventilation shaft in the middle of the tunnel. So a couple of things we've learnt today and found out, which has been good, and enjoyable paddles. So happy paddling to you guys and stay safe.